اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد مفتاح باب رحمة الله عدد ما في علم الله صلاة وسلاما دائمين بدوام ملك الله وعلى آله وصحبه عدد كل ذرة فمرة. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that anytime we are able to honor one of his obligations, such as Jumu'ah, one of his greatest symbols, which is Jumu'ah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed immense tawfiq on us. We ask also that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to remain soberness, a sobriety about what it means to just travel to Jumu'ah. There may have been times in our own personal lives, in our own personal days, that on a day like this, a Muslim will be passing us on their way to Jumu'ah. And perhaps for whatever reason, whatever state that we were in, maybe we were in a state of not having Islam in our life. Maybe we hadn't become Muslim. Maybe we were a Muslim and we were heedless. And the Muslims, they drove past on their way to attain this immense barakah, and we were not a participant. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saw fit that we will be participants, inshallah, on this particular day. If someone truthfully were to walk away from a day like Jumu'ah and to have just the resolve that they would tire themselves in worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They just had that resolve. Perhaps they have other vices that are crippling them in their own particular life. If they had one resolve that, you know what, I may be doing horrible in all these other accounts of my life, but I'm going to tire myself in worship. That person, inshallah, will be among the felicitous. Truthfully, if someone were to say they had the resolve, what I mean by resolve is they made a decision in heart and mind. They've made an oath, a covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they're no longer going to backbite anymore. That out of this Jumu'ah, when I leave, the last thing that Allah, you're going to catch me doing, out of the many things that I may be participating in and wronging my soul with, the last thing that you will catch myself doing and I will catch myself doing is backbiting against your creation. If that person were to leave Jumu'ah with that resolve, say, I'm just going to knock this one thing off of my record, this one thing off of my habit, we could say that person would be felicitous. And so the whole point of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala colliding the time in our lives, that one would live in Detroit, one would be on the west side of Detroit, off Joy Road somewhere, one would be living and breathing in this time, receiving, first and foremost, myself, this message, and that we will be coming and we'll be sitting and we will be remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will be remembering Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he dictated that we would be doing this right now. That's enough to say, I'm going to walk away from this Jumu'ah, and it may not be something that I uttered out of my mouth with you all. I'm fallible like anybody else. I may miss the mark on what you may have come here to get. But if you walk away from here and you say, I have a resolve to knock this one thing off, these two things off from my record, from my habit, then you will be, and I would be, and all of us will be amongst those who are successful in the day of judgment. To be brief, and my goal, inshallah, today is to be brief. Because in brevity and conciseness, we're able to drive home a point. We're able to drive home an issue. And it is an issue that to varying degrees we may be suffering from. All right, one of the moral vices that we may be struggling with from time to time, depending on whether or not it's triggered. As we talk about triggers a lot of times, right? And that is what? Arrogance. Arrogance. Allah says in the Quran, هَلْ أَتَىٰ عَلَى الْإِنسَانِ حِينٌ مِنَ الدَّهْرِ لَمْ يَكُنْ شَيْءٌ مَذْكُورًا, right? Hasn't there been a time? There was a time, right? Where man was not even a thing mentioned. Not even a thing of consideration. All of us living here right now as humans, there was a time where before we were walking on 2 feet, earning money, receiving praise, receiving love, taking care of family, having people say, oh, you look nice today, or you, whatever it is about this material realm that people gaze upon us and see, and they believe to be true about ourselves. There was a time when we were not even a thing, right? As auntie might say, boy, you weren't even thought of. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes that very distinct and sort and say, we were nothing. And so how does one who was nothing, then go on to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows them to exit their father, rest in their mother, come into the world, can't clean or wipe themselves, can't wipe the spit or the vomit off of their face. This same person grows, learns to walk and talk, and now looks down upon the very people who went through the same process in creation. Ra'udhu billah. And so arrogance is something we should all be observant of. And when I say arrogance, most of the time, many people, they go straight to money. You see, wealthy, consider maybe wealthy people are arrogant. But, Kaif, there are many a person that ain't got 2 nickels to rub together, more prideful than the most wealthy person on earth, right? More pride. All you got to do is say the right thing, right? And the homie with 2 nickels to rub together, that ain't got 2 nickels to rub together, he's ready to blast off on you. And so arrogance, right, is having an opinion of yourself, right, that drives directly against this point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making, that if you would really be able to observe yourself in the status that you walk through life with, that you enter life with, we would, as Allah tells us, walk humbly on the earth. Not cowering, not meek, but we would walk humbly upon the earth. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was offered, you can either be a prophet king, given all the keys to the treasures of the heavens and the earth, right? You could be a prophet king, or you could be a prophet slave. What did the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what did he choose? Prophet slave. Because he understood the nature of our creation, our status. So if that is khairul khalqillah, if that is the best of Allah's creation, he whose name is Allah on Allah's throne, he whose name was mentioned by Adam alayhi salam when asking for retribution, how could we then know that about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Know about his shama'il, know about his character, know about his unblemished record, and then say for ourselves, I'm going to walk through the masjid like I'm the king of the world. I'm the queen of the world. And so these are things that, if not observed, if not paid attention to, if not watched, we will find ourselves, somebody might go from a person who is, for whatever reason, they might not have an ounce of kabriya in their heart. They might not have, maybe just a little bit. But because they say, you know what, I got that vice taken care of, I'm going to work on these other things, they begin to start to carry these things with them. And so why am I speaking about this? We happen to be, within a weekend where people will celebrate people getting final notice that they've been freed within this particular country and whatever this particular history. All right. And so what am I saying to you is that in the long term, kibriya, arrogance, pride, in the long term, it has effects on our own soul. We know that long term is, right, we're not going to be able to be among those who enter into Jannah, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us, right? Those who have an Adam's weight of arrogance, they ain't going in the garden, straight up and down. But more importantly, if we collectively, and I'm talking about community-wise, group-wise, you and your friends, you and your group, your organization, your company, your masjid, whatever it is, large groups of people, it goes beyond our own individual selves. So where arrogance leaves residue across time. I stand here before you because somebody made a decision out of the kabriya, all right, in their heart, to say, you know what, these people are less than, therefore we can take advantage of them. This is the nature. Allah decreed that would be the manifestation that, some of my folks are here. So what? It's left residue. residue Kibriya led to? It led to 50 plus million of those who, some of us who have blood ties to Native Americans, indigenous people here, being wiped out. This is the residue of Kibriya. Led to 12 million people plus coming over and being brought over here in chains to work for free on slave labor camps. So what is the residue of that? As one poet once said, he said, fathers have lynched sons knowing them to be their sons. Mothers have ordered the lynching of their sons knowing them to be their sons. Why? Because they have inherited the residue of someone's group action and arrogance. So it goes beyond just ourselves because we have an impression on each other. One person says, you know what, I think we should be arrogant, better than these people because of our skin color. And he tells that great insidious idea to the next person, and that next person then begins to believe it as well. And the next person then begins to believe it as well, until you walk into a room and there are a whole group of people who are thinking the same horrible idea about themselves and their opinion and their relationship with Allah. And so we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to what? Rectify these things within ourselves, because we all got some group Kibriya that we need to work on. And that could be, somebody don't dress like me. Somebody don't walk, talk, don't got the same bop, and they don't have the same lingo as me. And we say, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for refuge from that. As a point, there should be nobody who comes walking through these doors who feels, this is a side point, it's a digression, that because their inability or their struggle with speaking English, with speaking the language English, that they should somehow be made to feel small. I don't know anybody, not from my community, that are going to be super gassed up about speaking colonizers' language. Very strange. I don't know how we can get happy about that. But these are one of the manifestations of this arrogance, that somehow we now make a point of joke, a point of laughter, someone's inability or struggle to speak their own colonizers' languages. We all in here speak English for the most part. It's a few brothers, alhamdulillah, Caucasian, but most of us, all of us have been brought up by English-speaking people who colonized our lands and enslaved our peoples. It ain't a point of like putting a feather in your cap. It's not something we be like, oh, man, speak such good English. Of course you would. They beat it into you. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we seek refuge from that. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in the Hadith Qudsi, narrated by Abu Hurairah, radiallahu anhu? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, he said, Kibriya, right? Ridai wa adama izari faman zana anni wahidan minhuma qadaftuhu nari. He said Kibriya is what? Is my cloak, my upper garment, right? And greatness is my lower garment. And whoever contends with me in each of them, right, and from one of them, right, they're going into the fire. So ultimately, those of us who hold, myself, whoever, who hold these things in our heart, know that we're contending with Allah. Know that the very end realm of arrogance, the end realm of feeling like we're able to make fun of, or we're able to make people feel small because of that, the end realm, the end zone, the end zip code of that is the zip code of Nar, is the zip code of Jahannam, of the fire. And it should be something we should be watching it constantly. We go to the council of Ali Zain al-Abidin radiallahu anhu, who, in the midst of a sermon just like this, he's in the midst of a sermon just like this, giving admonitions to the people. But then Ali Zayn al-Abidin radiallahu anhu, he then turns the entire affair to himself. It's like I'm talking to you right now. He then turns the entire conversation, the entire sermon, and as if it's the people there, they're just watching him. They're watching Zain al-Abidin radiallahu anhu. They're watching him talk to himself. And what does he say? While the people are watching, waiting for him to talk to them, he says, "Oh my soul, how long will you trust in the world and incline to its embellishment? Have you not learned a lesson from your bygone ancestors, your intimate friends, whom the earth has concealed, your brothers of whom are bereaved, and your companions who have been transferred to the earth? They are now inside the earth while they were just on it. Their beauties therein have become decayed and effaced. Their abodes have become empty of them. Their courtyards have become deserted of them. And the decrees of Allah drove them toward death. They left the world and they're gathering for it. The pits, the graves, and the earth has hidden them." And so many a time you might see National Geographic, and they say they'll be going through, this is the ruins of this civilization. This is the ruins of this particular nation. And they go through these places and what once were these immense kingdoms. Places where they thought their mulk would not stop until where the sun set. And those same people, what? They're bones in the ground now. Those same civilizations, they're what? Stones in the ground now. People got to dig to find them. And so Ali Zain al-Abidin radiallahu anhu, he's reminding himself, middle of the khutbah, and saying, you know what? The people that we may, we're just talking to them. They met their affair. They see the outcome of their affair now. And if we would just pay attention, because life makes us forget, our day-to-day makes us forget. And in that forgetting, we become arrogant. He says these courtyards, the marble floors that they just walk on, and all these sorts of things, those things are no more. Those houses are empty. And in a place like Detroit, we can definitely understand what it means when we say those houses are empty. And many a house here that people used to walk, talk, chilling, be with their family, full spread, kids running around, and it's no more. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed that people would not be dwelling in that residence anymore. They could still be living, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives and He takes. And if we have an understanding of Allah's giving and taking, right, it will make us reflect that, right, Allah He ain't got no picks. Whoever's on top today could lose it all tomorrow. Whoever has nothing today could gain the entirety of it tomorrow. Our responsibility as Muslims, our charge as Muslims is to become indifferent. And indifference is a method of what? Dealing with arrogance. You're indifferent to whether or not you walk in a room and people call your name or they recognize you at all. Whether people feel a certain way or they love you or at all. Lastly, inshallah, those we know and those we don't know, they will assemble to go to Hajj. So one could say, what are those of us who back here and we're wondering, how does one take advantage of this particular time? Your heart might be completely at Hajj, but you can't participate. Inshallah, Allah give us all to go there. All right? But you can say, what am I, what is the hallmark of the nation of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What is the hallmark of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Right? His comprehensive calling out to Allah for the salvation of His nation. And so there are people that we know, they're going to be sending out Google spreadsheets, they're going to be sending out text messages. Hey, I know you have a few du'as, send them to me. Let me know. I'll make sure I beg Allah, for you, for these things to happen that you want to have happen. But there are going to be people, and this is the hallmark of the nation of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that there will be people who don't know us from a can of paint, don't know us from nowhere. And they will be sobbing on Arafah. And they will be sobbing on Arafah for people they don't know, never met, will never meet. And they'll be asking for our forgiveness. And so one could say, I make intentions that inshallah, that those who supplicate on my behalf, those who go out there, don't know me from nowhere, they just, Ya Allah, for the Ummah of Muhammad, as we were taught by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that right, that they work and they ask, and that lands on those parts of us that make us feel like we better than folks. The parts of us that make us feel like we've arrived. Secondly, anytime, inshallah, Allah gives us life in the morning to pray Fajr, right? We beat it in here to get to Fajr. If we were to stay, pray Fajr, sit, remember Allah until what? Sun rises? What did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say? One who does that has the reward of Hajj and Umrah. Then he said, Tama, Tama, Tama. Complete, complete, complete. So we want to make Hajj, Bismillah, tomorrow Saturday. Come. Find your local masjid, Fajr, remember Allah until sunrise, and then we good to go, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He not leave us void of these blessings that are coming within these last 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, that He not leave us in abandonment of the mercy that is going to be bestowed, and that all those who go on behalf of their own souls, they go to all through the rites of Hajj, and they go and they're standing on Arafah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers their dua. As we say often, you have no idea what dua people are putting on these carpets. You have no idea what dua people are casting out through their hands to Allah on Arafah. Somebody could be feeling like this is the last shot for me. And that could be a random Tuesday in the masjid, and you walking past them, and if you got that arrogance in your heart, you might not be able to completely receive them. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to free us from the shackles of these things, free us from the shackles of our arrogance. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us felicitous and remove all arrogance from our heart prior to our accounting on Yawm al-Qiyamah, inshallah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد يا ايها الذين امنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن الا وانتم مسلمون ان الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا ايها الذين امنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيدا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أوصيكم وإياي بتقوى الله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد مفتاح باب رحمة الله عدد ما في علم الله صلاة وسلاما دائمين بدوام موق الله على آله وصحبه عدد كل ذرة فمروى. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا نسينا وأخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us of all our past dhunub, all our past sins, our current sins and habits, our future sins and habits. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the same shining faces that we see here on these days of Yawm al-Jumu'ah, we see these same shining faces at the Hawd of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that we find ourselves dwelling with these same faces in Jannatul Firdaus. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to heal all of those in our community who are suffering from heart afflictions, who are suffering from afflictions of the mind, who are suffering from afflictions of the body. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to preserve our elders, allow their way to be walked upon in righteousness. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect the children and the women amongst us, and to be beacons of light for those who are dwelling in darkness. ويقيموا الصلاة.